Well, hello. It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week, and the show where I have left up my lights despite being reminded in the comments that it's time to take them down, because they're not coming down till the end of the month. Sorry. All right. I actually, you don't get the effect with this filming, but I like the effect they give in my living room. It's like being lit by candles and lanterns and stuff, so they're staying up. But you're not here to talk about that. You're here to find out about what snow scene I'm going to show, right? All right, let's do some opening music. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I'd invite you to subscribe. And, I'm a little curious what you think of my snow, but it's sad. I'm curious your experience with Cursive, especially international experience, or other languages other than English might be very interesting, especially if it's maybe a language using a different alphabet than English, or, there's some languages out there that don't use an alphabet at all. So, let us know down in the comments. I'll talk more about that as we get into the video, but for now, let's take a look at some pens. Alright, so these are the pens. From left to right, I have the Cross Wanderlust for the second week in a row, but probably not next week because she's running low. I have my Visconti Gold Point, number 5, or number 1. Don't remember, I don't have it written down. I have a Cleo Skribent, kind of a vintage one instead of a modern one. I have a Dolcevita Masterpiece, Omas Ogiva Cocktail, Senator President. So now I can have both my Senator and my President in my pocket. I have a PenBBS 355 with a lot less ink than you saw in it last week. And finally a Platinum 3776 in the shoji finish. And just for fun, I have a viewer who always liked to see either the Omas Ogiva or the Platinum 3776 with the shoji fin. Not shoji. Koi finish. I apologize. Anyway, they liked seeing them. So if you're still out there, now you get both in one video. As always, we'll do our writing sample in this cognitive surplus theory notebook. And I'm just going to test something real quick. Okay, you don't see it, but I'm an excited squirrel right now because I'm holding this about a centimeter away from the lens. Giggle. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll talk about why I tried that at the end of the video. It is January 24th, 2025, as you see this, hopefully. And if it's not, who cares? All right, we have the Cross Wanderlust with a very attractive, it's a metal pen. I don't usually like those, but I think it's got a very attractive finish on it. It's supposed to be like Antelope Canyon here in the United States. Has a lovely cross nib. And the section has got an interesting texture. I think if I remember right, this is a medium nib. Yep, there's an M on it. Okay. I looked in the loop. You probably saw earlier when I showed you the nib, but, So, working on using up the last of my Omas Black. When it's used up, it will be no more. I won't be able to buy any more. I won't care. I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but there's other kinds of ink out there, and I've got several bottles of black ink to use up. Just still trying to reduce my numbers of bottles of ink. And I happen to have a lot of black ink, and luckily I go through a lot of black ink. Although the Omas black there was a lot of ink, so it's gonna take me it took me a long time to finish it. We're getting down. My next pen that I'm going to ink up is going to use a lot of it. I have this sitting here I need to use up yet. About 3/4 filled. I have this, which I'm fearful to use. And I have this. This is Delta. I'm kind of leaning toward Delta being my next ink, just so I can use up a bottle. But anyway, that's my Cross Wanderlust with the Omas black in it. My next pen is the Visconti Gold Point number 5. I used to think this is a Visconti, I don't remember, because I was wrong and I've forgotten now, but some kind of other Visconti. Because I remember seeing one actually for the first time on Stephen Brown's channel. Although I don't think his was brown and white, his was red and white. But I, looked him up, and that brown and white was just like, yes, that's what I want. And then I looked at the price and said, eh. And then I looked at, it was a metal section, and I was just like, oh, hell no. Well, this doesn't have a metal section. And I like it a lot. So, Visconti Gold Point, spelled with an E. No, not gold. Point is spelled with an E for some reason. And the nib in it is a medium. It's one of their earlier gold nibs. From before they went to palladium, before they went back to gold. How close can I get? Holy cow. Alright, about an inch away from the lens now. Alright, so the ink in this is Herbin Lidete. Over the past year, I've become quite a tea drinker. I still drink coffee. But I've been drinking a lot more tea, both herbal and tea-ish. I actually kind of like green tea. I'm one of those weirdos, though, who does not like sugar or anything in his tea. Soak the leaves in the water and call it good, and that's tea for me. But that's how I drink my coffee, too, except my coffee's not made from a leaf. So, does that look like tea would look like on paper? No, not really. Tea would be a lot more pale. But it gets the essence across. Alright, so this pen, I forgot to look if I've done a video on it. I did a Cleo Skribent. I bought a modern one. And then I found out that there was a vintage one. So I bought it. It's very similar, not quite the same. I may have to do a comparison, but I'm still trying to figure details out. There we go. So it says made in Germany, and then Cleo back here. The nib, or sorry, that's not a nib, that's also upside down. I'm hoping that word means something to somebody. It means absolutely nothing to me. Shifra, who sounds like a James Bond villain. Any Hoosers. Here's our nib. Kind of reminds me a lot of the modern one. Again. It's not gold, it's just a plain ordinary steel nib, which is fine. Yep, okay, I was looking for what size it is. So this is a Cleo Skribent. You smell that? I'll explain in a minute. So it's a medium nib. This ink in it is de Atramentis Violet. And I haven't seen violets in years. I don't know if they just don't grow in North Dakota or just not the really super dry part where I live. But I don't remember them as having much of a smell. But this does have a smell, kind of a floral smell. It's an attractive violet color. It does well in this pen. As I discovered with the modern version of the pen, it's oh my gosh, I'm just looking at the preview of that. The preview is very blue. And what I see with my eyes is very violet. So, don't know. But anyway, I just thought I would throw up here. Oh, sorry, to finish that story, I don't remember them as having much of a smell where I grew up in Pennsylvania. But anyway, here is the Pelican Violet. Here is the De Atramentis Violet. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to play with the white balance in this camera. If it looks like this when I go to edit the video, yeah, white balance has got to get some work. Okay. On that happy note, we have the Delta Dolcevita Masterpiece. And we'll look at our nib here. So I commented last week that they just slapped a piece of gold on the nib and called it good. And somebody remarked, well, you know, Nathan Tardif of Noodler's fame used to say, well, put a piece of Scotch tape over your nib to get it to write. But they didn't put it over the tines, so what in the heck is it doing? So this is the Delta Dolcevita Masterpiece, which is quite a name for a pen. Medium fusion nib in it, and the ink in it is Herbin, which is a brand I'm coming to enjoy. I don't know, at the beginning I was sort of down on them, but it wasn't Myosotis. I wasn't through lack of, or through experience, it was just kind of a certain pen maker based in Massachusetts, who shall remain nameless, kept talking about ink brands that are basically just colored water, and hinted very strongly that this was it. And I don't know, I've thought they have some very nice colors. I mean, they don't fill the bottles tippy-top full, but maybe I don't want that. Maybe I'd like to open my bottle without spilling it. Maybe I'd like to get my first fill without overflowing down the sides of the bottle. I don't know, call me crazy. So I had a fun little exchange with one of my viewers when I showed this pen last week, and she says, oh, you need to do a video on that. Well, I have. But she has me thinking I need to do an update. I can't remember if this is due one or not. But this is my Omas Ogiva cocktail. I forget what cocktail it was. It doesn't really matter because I don't really drink cocktails. I like a very, very occasional martini. And I mean so occasional that it could go years between me having one. But sorry, I do occasionally like one. But anyway, this has an extra flessibile nib. But what she was talking about in the comments was how expensive this pen is. I'm like, well, yeah, it was kind of pricey now that you mention it. Then I went on eBay to look, what are they going for now? Because they went out of business. And holy cow! I Did not see that coming. Not the new Omas, the original Omas Ogiva was unbelievably expensive there. And none of the examples I saw had the extra flessibile nib. They were all asking 4 figures on eBay. Now, I don't know if that's typical or if just that's what I saw when I went on eBay that day. But holy cow. I decided then and there, this pen is never leaving the house again unless I move. So if I move to Vermont or something, yes, the pen is coming with me. In my car, with me, on my person. Not trusting this one to the moving van, if that's true. I mentioned last week that this isn't quite true to color. It's still not. I think I'm still cleaning out whatever was in the pen. But anyway, it is a fun pen. It feels good in the hand. It looks good. I like it. I didn't expect it to be that much. I've never paid that much for a pen, but so it goes. All right, so we get my Senator President. This is a fun one. So let's see, those of you who are Ukrainian or speak Ukrainian, hard to make out. Anyway, what it says is Ukrainian Ministry of Coal. How did it end up in the United States? Don't know. But here it is. This one has a gold nib. I do have one with a steel nib as well. I've done skits in the past where I pretend, to get arrested for having this pen and questioned, and I don't feel like it tonight. It's too close to truth. Okay, sorry. That's as political as I'm going to get tonight. Senator President, Lamy Turquoise ink, which is a fun ink. I've pretty much decided as I'm using up my turquoises. I have one more bottle of turquoise left. No, well, 2, but one's a weird one. But once I use up the turquoises I have, I'm pretty sure I'm coming back to Lamy. I see Pelican has a turquoise, Girbon has a turquoise. I mean, a lot of people do. But this is just so well behaved on so much paper. And it turns out to have kind of a reddish sheen. Don't always see it. I'm not seeing it on this paper. But I wrote a letter to one of my pen pals and a page. That's what used it up. It was in my Ghat boy before. I just put my glasses on. I don't see any sheen. But anyway, I could see the reddish sheen. I'm like, yes, you're in for a treat. Okay, so this is my PenBBS 355 with the last of my Krishna Ghat green in it. It's amazing how much ink I have gone through in this pen. So this is a PenBBS 355, and the ink, or the nib, sorry, is a Nemosine, because it is a Nemosine nib, 0.6 millimeter nib, stub. You can just barely, come on, there we go. You can just barely make out the 0.6 there up by the section. I love their re-entry nibs. I wish they still made them. But mostly I just love them for the look. They're no better or worse than these. The ink in this, like I said, is Krishna Ghat green. And it's green. I always think of mountains as being kind of bluish. But I've seen the pictures. Apparently in India they look more green. I don't know if it's because it's more tropical there than the places I've lived or visited. I've never visited anywhere tropical, to be honest. I was speaking of that, about Louisiana getting a bunch of snow. Even New Orleans getting dumped on by snow. And I thought, wow, that's got to be an experience when you're not used to it. All right, my last pen for this evening has been this very attractive, koi finished Platinum 3776. So, judging from this pen, I'm not sure if I ever want to own another celluloid Platinum 3776. This one has weird shrinkage issues. I see yellowing in the finish. That happens. And I've always been afraid to put any kind of glue there. Yeah. I find the jade one, if I were to get one, very attractive. I don't really care for the other acrylic finishes they have, or not acrylic, sorry, the other celluloid finishes they have for the 3776, but this one and the jade were the two that have always struck my eye. But I don't know, after my experience with this one, I'm not too down on owning one. So, anyway, those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. I will confess that I've got a couple at school inked up right now. I have what do I have? Some kind of a Chinese thing that's similar to a Pilot Custom 823. I have some kind of a Chinese thing that looks like a tulip. It looks cool, but it was awful to carry in my pocket. And I have a Turkish Skrix 419 pen, which turns out does not like school paper. So I may be bringing that one home. But anyway, other than that, I'm using these pens. At school, I'm using up Diamine Coral ink, and I'm using up Atramentis Cucumber. That's what I correct my papers with. And then in the one that's sort of like an 823, I have Pelikan 4001 Royal Blue. Maybe at the end of the year I'll bring my school pens home or something, but I just kind of decided rather than carry a lot of pens to and from school, I just like to have a few at school, a few at home, and I'm not going to leave my nicer pens at school because I had a Lamy Safari walk-off at school over the summer, so. In other excitement, we did have some snow. There's actually snow on the ground now. We actually had kids today. Oh, imagine kids saying this. Oh, they need to send us home because it's snowing so bad. The roads are just going to be atrocious. Well, if they weren't at school, they'd be like, I want to run into town. So, but yeah, some blowing snow and whatnot. Not a lot of accumulation, but some snow. There's some drifting out there. I'm going to have to shovel. It is what it is. I went up to White Butte, which is North Dakota's highest point, this past weekend. I totally forgot my camera. I was going to bring that camera right there. I'd actually thought about a different camera, my really good camera that I use for sports, but I wasn't going to bring that. I just decided not to. And it didn't matter because I left it at school anyway. I left this one at school, so I got about halfway to White Butte, and I said, damn it. So I took my pictures with this and my video with that. And it is what it is. I did realize if there's not a lot of motion in the picture, like if I'm not showing moving water, if I don't have animals, if I don't have a lot of wind action, still picture has a lot more resolution in it. So, the opening to this video may or may not have been a still picture. I'm pretty sure I did the one with the rainbow in it. It's a sundog. It's kind of formed by ice crystals in the air. The temperature that day got to about 7 degrees Fahrenheit. I forget what that is Celsius, but it's minus something. Monday morning, if you have been following my Instagram life, I walked to school in minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit. I just had my camera stop recording twice, but I think it's because I was messing with the cell phone. Yeah, it hasn't stopped again, so I'll stop messing with it. So I'm not sure exactly where you got in there, but I used a naughty word after one of those times, so I'll edit that out. But anyway, so it was cold, but not brutally cold, if that makes sense. So I took some pictures with the cell phone, because that's what I had. I did some video. I did some smoothing, with DaVinci, which one of you put me onto DaVinci, and I'm getting to like it more and more. I was able to kind of smooth it out. Camtasia does not have that capability. I got to learn a few tricks before I'm willing to switch to DaVinci, but I'm really tempted to switch away from Camtasia to DaVinci. The one thing that Camtasia has, honestly, that I would like to have, well, two things. One of them is I'm just familiar with it. You love the one you're with. It's okay to jump tools, but don't be constantly jumping tools. And I've been with Camtasia for a lot of years. And I loved it when I thought they had my back with their music. But that's apparently only their current music library, not music that I used from them in the past. Bye-bye, sayonara. But anyway, the other feature of Camtasia is the ability to do screen recordings, which as a teacher can be extremely handy. And I will have to look for some software that can do it if I decide to jump away from Camtasia. I'm also going to have to see where I'm at with my license with Camtasia. But anyway, I'm learning slowly to use the features in DaVinci and liking that a lot. Another fun thing, this is, my third, fourth week using 4K. I'm learning. I'm not there yet. I'm discovering little quirks with the computer. It isn't a huge fan of running 4K, but it will. I bought, for about the price of a part on my live streaming camera, I bought this, which does extreme close-ups. It's not very good for once you get any distance, because it's got such a short focal length. Anyway, it magnifies the stuff that's close to it to a ridiculous amount. It makes it look super large. Anything further away looks really tiny. So it makes it look much larger up close, much smaller far away. Anyway, which makes it very misshapen. If you've seen those pictures like dog, and they get close to the nose, and it's like the picture's all nose, and you can't see much else. That's what this does. I had people telling me I did a pen that they said looked like a rocket ship on there. Well, yeah, because that's how it rolls. I'm not thrilled with it. I like it for close-ups, like, oh, look, let's take a look at the details of this nib. So if I know I'm going to do that during a video, I might hook it up for that purpose. But otherwise, no. So I am... I haven't really bought much with the YouTube money that's been coming in, and it's kind of trickled in. The last one was a very nice fountain pen. It was one of the Nikayas that I own, because I own two. Would love to own a third one, but for now, I'm just saying no, because the one I really want is really expensive. And I just can't justify that for a pen, even if it's YouTube money. Aren't all Nikayas expensive? Yes, they are, but I'm headed somewhere with this. So I bought an updated camera. So for years and years, back from when I was working and filming downstairs to when I've moved upstairs, years and years, I've used the same camcorder. And I decided, let's take some of that YouTube money buy a nice camera. So, reaching across, grabbing the camera off of the tripod. So, I bought this little feller. So, it's a Panasonic Lumix. It's a, let's see if I remember, the something or other 2500. I might have to take this off the bottom here to see what it is. My little tripod holder thing. Okay. Oh my gosh, not wearing my glasses. Yep, FZ2500. So it's got a nice amount of pixels. It can do 4K video. It's got quite the zoomage. It's bigger than this camera that you're watching me on. Comes with a nice strap, but the lens is just going to stick out no matter how much I zoom, because all the movement is happening inside the lens, not outside the lens. And but you can do your manual settings. I'm kind of working on that part. So, you're just going to have to bear with me for a few weeks while I figure out a quick way to do that. But not as instant to do manual settings as this camera, because I can do f-stop pretty easily with this dial, but I kind of have to hunt around the menus to change the aperture. But I'm seeing a lot of potential with this camera, and I can remote control it. And if I'm out walking around, watch this, bam, bam. So I can look at myself. In fact, when you see the video of the pens, I was looking at the pens, so I had this flipped so I could see the pens. So I need some time with this camera. There is a basketball game tomorrow night. Now, how often have I bought new cameras? 2 of them in like 1 month. But the one that I usually use for sports was bought with my money. Not YouTube money, my money that I earned as a teacher. And this was bought with YouTube money. But I'm kind of curious just to play with this. Maybe I'll do like a quarter or two of the basketball game and just see how it goes. I don't think it has quite the aperture. Yeah, oh, Jesus. I mean, gee whiz. F2.8. And as I zoom in, that gets worse. The more you zoom in, the narrower the aperture has to be. Because, fun fact with apertures, bigger number means smaller aperture. And as you zoom in, it gets harder and harder to have a wide aperture. So, I'll be curious to try it, but I don't think this is going to become my sports camera. But I can see hiking with this. Now, it's heavier than that camera. But now I can say, what is that over there? Zoom in on it. This one, the best I can zoom is about an 85 millimeter. This camera is perfect to be what I bought it for. But that one, I'm seeing some potential. And I'm going to have to play with the macro functionality too. So a lot of potential there. None of which has anything to do with the topics I wrote down, because I didn't write any of this down. It just came out of my mouth. So down to what I did write down. I wrote down about some cursive. In fact, let me get the title of the article here so I don't get this wrong. It's from the Smithsonian Magazine, and it's, can you read this cursive handwriting? The National Archives wants your help. So anyone with an internet connection, see, if I weren't afraid of copyright, I'd actually put this article up on the screen, but I'm afraid of copyright stuff, so I'm not going to. But anyone with an internet connection can volunteer to transcribe historical documents and help make the archive's digital catalog more accessible. And then it gives a Revolutionary War Pension and Bounty Land War application submitted by James Lambert. The following is the Declaration of James Lambert, a soldier of the Revolutionary War in North America, and goes on from there. And then they give some other examples. It was interesting because they got into where they do cursive, where they don't do cursive. There are states that have cursive instruction. There are states that do not. Interesting. North Dakota, by the way, is one where it's not required. It's about half and half. But if you start wading through some of the other articles there, you're going to see a professor lamenting that his students couldn't read some of these historical documents. And that got me to thinking. So, why aren't we teaching cursive? Because it takes away from testing time. You know, we got to have our testing. We got to pass tests. We got to get good scores on tests. Because after all, the whole point of education is to do well on tests. I mean, that's why you went to school, right? So you could do well on tests. Especially state-mandated tests. For those of you who don't know, that's what we call sarcasm. But anyway, so cursive kind of went by the wayside. A lot of people said, well, keyboarding's the more important skill. And yeah, I think it's important to teach keyboarding. Does that mean cursive is useless? No. Can I write without cursive? Hell yes. I could print. And mostly they teach printing before they teach cursive. Why not let kids print? Is there a harm in that? Isn't the goal to get kids to write? Does it matter if they print or do cursive? I haven't read a study where it gives the superiority of cursive over printing. I have read studies where they give the superiority of writing over typing. But, you know, as far as retention and so on. But I've never read anything about the superiority of cursive over printing. But that did make me wonder, are kids unable to read cursive? Or, you know, even if they don't write in it, are they unable to, or do they just choose not to? Especially if maybe they're not great readers, they may struggle more with letter shapes and so on, then they'll struggle more with cursive. Well, I don't know the answer to that because I learned cursive starting in 2nd grade. I hated handwriting class. I absolutely hated it. First grade, I'd mastered, or kindergarten probably, I'd mastered the art of holding my pencil like this. I got in all kinds of trouble. I got whacked with a ruler once, you know, all that stuff, because I'm supposed to hold it like this, and I wouldn't do it. As soon as the teacher would walk away, I'd be back to this. And she couldn't talk me around. It actually was as an adult I started writing like this, just because, I don't know why, but I sort of changed how I wrote letters and stuff. I'm pretty sure I learned Zahner Bloser as my handwriting style, because I did put a link to different cursive styles down there also. But I don't know that. Maybe it was Donnelly, I know it wasn't Spencerian. But I also know that different teachers, as I went through elementary, had different ways to handwrite. Some of them, if the letter, you know, the lowercase letter was the first letter in a word, you didn't put those leading tails on it. Others ones you had to, which always seemed really stupid to me one way or the other, because I just like, who cares? I never liked the cursive A because it looks just like the lowercase a, you know, things like that. I had a 4th grade teacher where when you wrote quotes, you couldn't just write, you know, you had to dot curly Q, and then the other side had to be dot on top, curly Q on the bottom, dot on top, curly Q on the bottom, because heaven forbid you do a slash, because everybody writes with the dot curly Q. Had to do that for apostrophes, had to do that for quotes. Hated that. But the worst was the actual handwriting, because you're there tracing letters, you're doing it over and over again. Then you get it back, and the teacher's got all kinds of arrows written to, oh, you had a little squiggle here, oh my God, you're going to just fail at life because you messed up this letter a tiny bit. Heaven forbid. I had a 7th grade teacher, English teacher, threaten me with detention over my handwriting. And, yeah, they pretty much made me hate handwriting. And I printed for a long time, for anything for school, and then cursived only for myself. Now, it's one thing, you know, I have those kids where I'm like, I can't read this. What does it say? No, I don't know. Okay, if you can't read it, I can't read it. I've done that. There is a point, and maybe the seventh grade teacher had that point, where if your handwriting isn't legible to other people, yeah, that's a communication issue. Just like sorry, the camera quit there. Just like if you can't understand my speech, there is a communication issue that needs to be solved. I see handwriting the same way. But I am a regular writer with people. I have several pen pals. Some of them I have seen the deterioration of their handwriting due to age. I know if I handwrite in the evening, it's nowhere near as neat as if I handwrite in the morning. I have pen pals who have different cursive styles from what I learned, especially one or two that are international. And I can interpret it. So it brings me back to that question. Can people who didn't grow up writing in cursive read cursive, or is it truly a foreign language? Is it a lack of effort trying, or a lack of practice trying? And I don't know. How foreign is it? So, hoping somebody here can enlighten me, and maybe I've found you something to do. You can help translate stuff on this website that the Smithsonian magazine was talking about. I also provided some links to information about other handwriting styles. Maybe you can talk about which one you learned. Maybe you can talk about whether you liked handwriting in school or not. I hated it. I hated any kind of rote stuff like that. Any kind of memorize, don't think, don't create, just memorize. I hate it. A little bit's okay, but then I want to use it. Today we're going to practice the letter A, so we're going to fill our whole page with the letter A over and over and over again till you're sick of it. Well, I got sick of it real quickly. So, there you go. So I want to thank you for watching, and if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, tell me about your handwriting experience in school. Especially, again, if it's a non-English language, I'd be very interested in that. But was your handwriting class like I described, just the rote repeating letters over and over and over and over and over and over? Or was there more to it? I'm interested. Maybe you enjoyed it. Some people do. Some people find it relaxing just to trace the shapes of letters. I don't. So, anyway, let me know down in the comments. I'm kind of curious. Who knows? Maybe this will be a driving video one of these days. Is it cold where you are? Let us know down in the comments. And I'm going to take you driving footage again up around White Butte in North Dakota. I didn't hike at all because, at those temperatures, if I fall and slip on the ice while hiking and die out there, I'm just going to feel really stupid. So I didn't. Plus, it's some of those locations, it's very hard to call for help because you can't get cell service. So, anywhoozers, well, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.